Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, may I ask you to be seated, please? Before we start the first solution forum, we will have a special signing ceremony. This is between the UN Office for South-South Cooperation and the Permanent Mission of Qatar to the United Nations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear friends and participants. We're going to have a very brief off-program event. And I want to tell you an anecdote. When I came to New York and I took my job in 2015, we had a conference room that was called the Doha Room. The Doha Room was the result of a very generous contribution of the government of the state of Qatar that helped us refurbish a room and made it a model for the UN. Problem is, we changed premises. Sometimes success has costs. We had to move to a larger office, and therefore we left that room. And we have a very beautiful, very big conference room, but very primitive. So we approached the state of Qatar. We still call it the Doha Room as a tribute to their generosity, and we asked them if they would be interested to help us refurbish this room. And last week, we got confirmation from them. We sent a request some time ago that they would support us. So we take this opportunity of the Expo to highlight the partnership we have from Qatar and from many other countries of the South that support the work of our office. And we wanted to especially thank Ambassador Altani for, on your behalf, to the government of people of Qatar. And we look forward to building a very beautiful Doha Room that will probably be one of the best in the UN, that will serve as a space for peace and also for people to get together to plan and build a better world. So thank you very much, Ambassador Altani. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. And of course, good morning to everyone. I'm very privileged, of course, to be here today and to announce this very important contribution. For us, it's the conference room, the Doha conference room, is a symbol of the cooperation that has been built upon since Doha have hosted a very important summit, the South Summit in 2004, where we have very much made it clear that South-South cooperation is an important, it is top priority for the state of Qatar. We are embarking at a very important process where we have next year two very important processes that will begin on the South-South Cooperation Conference in Argentina, and later on, hopefully, the third summit on South-South Summit in Uganda in 2019. These are very important functions that we need to keep in mind and prepare very well for. And again, thank you very much for this very important opportunity and for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now we resume the normal program. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
State of Qatar.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the exciting thematic solution forum number 1. Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, Now let's move on to the Thematic Solution Forum 1, South-South Cooperation in Poverty Eradication and Livelihood Recovery in the Age of Technological Revolution, led by United Nations Development Programme. I have the honor to invite the panelists of the first Solution Forum to come on stage. Let's look forward to this very important discussion. Thank you.
Good morning, Excellencies, government delegates, development partners, UN colleagues. I would like to start by thanking our colleagues from the UN Office for South-South Cooperation for organizing this annual Global South-South Development Expo. UNDP is delighted to be hosting this first Thematic Solution Forum. I would now like to welcome you all on this Thematic Solution Forum on poverty eradication and livelihood recovery in an age of technological revolution. It is a great honor to be the chair and moderator of this panel that will share with you today how South-South cooperation partnerships can be the accelerator of innovations for rural transformation and poverty reduction. As we heard during the opening this morning, in 1978, the Buenos Aires Action Plan became a milestone of South-South cooperation and provided countries of the South with a foundational framework to reinforce cooperation among them with a view to collective self-reliance. 40 years later, South-South cooperation is an increasingly important modality of international cooperation for sustainable development. The upcoming BAPA Plus 40 conference in March 2019 will represent an opportunity to strengthen revitalization of the global partnership for sustainable development. Distinguished colleagues, at United Nations Development Programme, we believe that partnering among peer developing countries to exchange, replicate, and adapt indigenous-made Southern development solutions is one of the most cost-effective strategies to achieve the 2030 Agenda. Indeed, the integrated approach of the SDG Agenda and the commitment to leave no one behind provides opportunities for poverty eradication with collective action. As such, UNDP has been acting as knowledge broker, partnership facilitator, and capacity development supporter to help countries maximize its development impact and accelerate poverty eradication and the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals. All countries need to continue their efforts to ensure that no one is left behind and that disparities within and between countries are being addressed. These are central ambitions of the 2030 Agenda. Despite the remarkable progress, globally, 800 million people still live in extreme poverty, and many more are threatened by alarmingly high rates of unemployment, limited access to essential services, insecurity, conflict, environmental degradation, and climate change. In many countries, disparities continue to widen, thereby undermining human development and contributing to political unrest and conflict. UNDP is committed to supporting initiatives to ensure that the benefits of technological advances reach those further behind. Through its presence in 170 countries around the world. We are supporting governments in analyzing who is left behind and why, connecting stakeholders, facilitating knowledge exchange and capacity building, and providing policy support to advance equity, fight poverty and discrimination in diverse and evolving development contexts. UNDP sees technology as a crucial means to achieve the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda for all. We are now strengthening our tech portfolio in partnership with governments, the private sector, and civil society. Many creative initiatives are already underway to reach the furthest behind. Some countries and leading companies that have shown successful engagement and initial results are joining us here today to share their own advancements in poverty eradication in an age of technology. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished colleagues, it gives me a great pleasure to introduce our distinguished panel. Mr. Fang Jiansheng, Vice President for Rural Affairs, Alibaba Group, China. Ms. Elena Panova, Resident Coordinator, Turkmenistan. Mr. Luis-Antoine Mouhir, CEO, Rwanda Cooperation Initiative, is on his way. He just landed. I think that the plane had a delay. And we are waiting. We'll introduce him, so we are waiting for him to arrive. Mr. Monowar Ahmed, Permanent Secretary in charge of the Economic Relations Divisions, Ministry of Finance, Government of the People's Republic of Bangladesh. And Ms. Ma Libong, Secretary General, JD Foundation, China. I would like to encourage all the speakers to please remain cognizant of time allotment and to keep their presentation to no more than 7-10 minutes, so as to allow all of us to have questions and then to have answers from the distinguished panel afterwards. I would like now to give the floor first to Mr. Fang from the Alibaba Group, who will illustrate the experience of Alibaba with rural poverty reduction, making the most of digital advancement. As a successful mode of poverty alleviation in rural China, Alibaba's rural e-commerce programs can be used for reference in many countries in the context of South-South cooperation. Mr. Fang, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Hello, everyone. I'm very glad to participate in our discussion today. Alibaba, as a technology company, in the past decade has worked with governmental bodies, private sector, and also individual farmers, and carried out a lot of exploration in rural development. So today, I would like to take this opportunity to share with you our experiences. There are mainly three phases of our practices in the rural environment. The first stage started from 2006. We noticed that some farmers and rural entrepreneurs started to process their products and sell their products through Taobao. And this has been replicated very quickly in rural areas.
The
model has become villages in the internet. We call the Taobao villages, and now has accumulated $1.8 million, and now with the GMV over $15 billion. I think the innovation is a platform and the individual, because a platform provides an opportunity to allow farmers to benefit the profits from their productivities. The second phase was 2014. At that time, Alibaba announced a village strategy. We introduced the concept of Taobao village. we have introduced several innovative projects, including the electronic payments. After 4 years, Taobao Villages has covered about 30 provinces and 1,000 counties. And we have a team of 60,000 entrepreneur villagers. And we actually also further to introduce several projects, including the Alibaba's own projects. In 2016, the agricultural product on the platform was over 100 billion, and it grows over 30%. I think what we felt most from this phrase was that the successful of the model between the platform, the cooperation between the governments and the governments in terms of financing and the talent. And it was most important that we combine our best of ideologies and so that the villagers can have be able to benefit their own innovative ideas. And also, Alibaba worked with the local governments to create a platform so that the best products from the rural villages can sell through these platforms. Let me give you an example. In Xinjiang, we have this beautiful, delicious melon called Bacho melon. But unfortunately, melon was difficult to sell to the rest countries because of the location was remote. So in 2016, we went to the Bangzhou County. We're trying to help them to sell Bacho melon. We introduced the best breeding workshop so that they can perfect the melon productions. And also, we come up with a marketing plan. We call this melon, we saw Bacho. Bacho means a spicy melon. But because this name was very attractive, so we set up the Tmall platform to sell this melon. After 3 years, we sold 3,000 tons of melons. Before, melon used to sell very cheap, but later, after our efforts, with the farmers' income increased from $60 to $500 per hectare in 3 years. And then now we enter the third phase of Alibaba business model. And now we're trying to use our benefit of e-commerce. We promote our medical and health care model on the platform. We are hoping to introduce a digital technology to villages. And we're also looking forward to introduce further technologies like blockchain, etc. What we think about this from this stage is that we are going to combine the newest technologies and the network to get the best outcome. Let me give you an example. The reservation of the panda actually was very remote. But Alibaba introduced the electronic payment so that people, the consumers on the Alibaba could through a set of actions, for instance, through walking and through different energy-saving actions to purchase a digital currency to preserve this nature preservations. And also, we marketed honey produced this reservation area to sell to the rest of the country. In September and October, we promoted specifically a honey marketing plan, sales strategy. Within 30 minutes, we were online this program. All the honeys were sold. So this shows that the cooperation between e-commerce and the farmers' know-how that we can help villages to help to relieve their poverties. And also in villages, we actually help the young Africans to help them to provide their opportunities to get rich. Right now, we are in the stage of a digital transformation. The technology has evolved in unthinkable speed. I believe that this is only beginning of a cooperation of the technology and the village. I believe that through a South-South platform and the Alibaba's poverty relief experience in China, we are able to duplicate all this business model in different countries in South countries. We are hoping to able to sell more products from SSS countries to China and sell the Chinese product to the world. We want to create a common destiny of the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fang. This was indeed fascinating. And you touch on a topic very dear to my heart because half of the world's livelihoods depend on nature-based enterprises. And the key challenges are related mainly to access to finance, and I think using technology to really jumpstart this and aggregating would really take us a long way in terms of accelerating impact in terms of poverty alleviation. So because this is so relevant in the context of the South-South cooperation for all the countries, what would you think that were the key success factors that could be replicated to the other countries?
Thank you, your question. Based upon Alibaba's experience in China, I feel that Alibaba has utilized the digital technology in villages, and we work closely with the farmers to explore opportunities in the internet to relieve their poverties. There are three factors. Number one, government helps. That includes financing from the government. Number two, because of the e-commerce infrastructure, that includes in the logistic and the internet service. And number three, that is the most important because the training from the e-commerce in the villages. We help them how to market their products. We help them to use technologies, which are the keys to help villages to fully utilize the internet technology. Last year, we started to export our experience in the South Pacific, including Malaysia and other countries in the regions. We are trying to start the cooperative projects in these countries. Unfortunately, the projects has just only started. Therefore, we cannot really give you specifically numbers and to tell you how we have successfully duplicated our experience. But I want to emphasize that in the early of the November, the president of the World Bank came to China, to Guizhou, to see our project in Guizhou, to see table villages. After his reviewing our program, he was very excited about the program. He felt that this was the best example of the PPT to show that e-commerce to use the big data and digital technology to help people to relieve poverty. Therefore, it shows that the World Bank confirmed our poverty relief models. So I think that our models will be able to help the countries in the South cooperations. Thank you.
I would like to all of you to join me in a round of applause for this very fascinating intervention. Thank you. Now, I would like to turn the floor to a very dear friend and colleague, Ms. Elena Panova, United Nations Resident Coordinator in Turkmenistan, who will share with us her experience in working to support the government of Turkmenistan with the digitalization strategy, sourcing partnerships from the private sector to support innovation. Elena, you have the floor.
Thank you, Adriana. Honorable panel members, distinguished participants, it is indeed a great pleasure and honor to be here today and to speak about trilateral cooperation between UNDP, the government of Turkmenistan, and the government of China. Turkmenistan and China have long-standing relations which are defined by geographic, political, economic, and also security factors. In terms of geography, Turkmenistan is considered by China as a transit country that can help establish inland communication between East and West. In terms of politics, China and Turkmenistan hold similar views on many national and international problems. In terms of economics, China is a major trade partner and the only currently gas exporter for Turkmenistan today. In terms of security, China and Turkmenistan share common interests with regard to maintaining the stability in Central Asia. These complementarity advantages of China and Turkmenistan offer the possibility for extensive technical cooperation for achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, and particularly for the realization of the Leave No One Behind principle in both countries. Recognizing UNDP's role as a central broker and seeing also South-South cooperation as a very cost-effective and highly relevant means for SDGs achievement, our UNDP country office in Turkmenistan was requested by the government of Turkmenistan to facilitate technical cooperation with the government of China in supporting inclusive employment and promoting rights of people with disabilities. So I will start first with this one example on the people with disabilities, and then I will move on to this new intended partnership, which is in the area of digitalization. Specifically, this project aims to promote expertise and knowledge exchange between the Deaf and Blind Society of Turkmenistan and China Foundation for Poverty Alleviation in creating new job opportunities, training, and income generation opportunities for deaf and blind people in Turkmenistan. Partnership with Chinese stakeholders in this initiative is timely, as China has made tremendous progress in removing external barriers and creating enabling environment for persons with disabilities to participate in the society. Particularly, Chinese experience in engaging businesses in employment of people with disabilities will be of particular interest for Turkmenistan. For instance, and here I will give an example with the Alibaba Group, they have an experience in creating jobs for people with disabilities in e-commerce sector, and that's an excellent example of innovative, inclusive employment that can be extended also to many countries, including Turkmenistan. The other example, as I was mentioning and as announced by Adriana, is in the area of digitalization. In 2018, in this year, Turkmenistan embarked on preparation of a concept for developing digital economy. And UNDP has been standing next to the government, supporting it in this process, using some initial seed funding from the Global Belt and Road Initiative of UNDP. Also, UNDP engaged in discussions with the Chinese counterparts on this potential cooperation. Particularly, UNDP has been exploring potential partnership with Huawei, who since 2012 successfully cooperates with the Ministry of Railway Transport of Turkmenistan in the customization and implementation of railway communication technologies. Recently, Huawei was awarded its 5th contract with the Ministry of Railway Transport to deploy its market-leading digital global system for mobile communications railway solution, and also assists in the construction of a modern digital ground-to-train railway communication network for a Bereket Gudrolum railway project. This is a very, very good basis for communication and expansion of cooperation beyond one specific industry, which in this case is currently the railway industry, and engagement of Huawei in implementation of SDGs by bridging digital divide in Turkmenistan and also improving its digital connectivity with other countries of Central Asia along the BRI corridors. For example, Huawei Open Lab that was recently presented in Kazakhstan could be also very relevant to Turkmenistan and could also serve as a platform for cultivating and testing solutions and for partner verification to enhance product competitiveness, improve also customer business values, and offer unique industry solutions otherwise unavailable in the marketplace. Thus, we see big opportunities to make the match between Turkmenistan demand for and China's supply of digital technologies and innovations. And very much hope that our plans to establish a long-term and large-scale public-private partnership between the two countries will materialize. Thank you again for inviting me to this event and also to the opportunity to share experiences of UNDP Turkmenistan in facilitating South-South cooperation with China.
Thank you very much, Elena. I had one more question. So, because this is really interesting, and what I would like to hear is this is a complex partnership. So, what would be, in your opinion, what were the key roles of the various partners, but also the role of UN in leveraging this partnership, and mainly in leveraging the private sector partnership?
When designing and working on this partnership, we were led by the main, we believe, principles which are valid for South-South cooperation. So the first principle, this is fit the context approach. Very important in the case of Turkmenistan. You cannot offer to the government something which will not fit the context. So that was a leading principle for us at UN when brokering this partnership. Inclusiveness, extremely important, leaving no one behind. That's why our first cooperation was focused on people with disabilities, because we believe in all-inclusive society, and we believe that reaching and achieving the SDGs without, having on board all the marginalized group will not be a fact. And last principle, but not least, I will mention the collectiveness. And this is where the role of private sector is extremely important. Only collectively, bringing private sector on board, we will be able to achieve the Agenda 2030 for Sustainable Development. Therefore, the role of UNDP and UN as a knowledge broker, finding these innovative solutions, bringing them, contextualizing them to the specific country will be of, is of utmost importance for us. I hope I answered the question.
Yes, okay. Thank you.
Excellent. I would like now to invite Mr. Monowar Ahmed, Permanent Secretary, Secretary in charge of the Bangladesh Economic Relations Division, Ministry of Finance, to take the floor. Mr. Ahmed will speak to Bangladesh experience on citizens-friendly public service innovation, particularly at its regards to the implementation and measurement of the Sustainable Development Goals. You have the floor.
Madam Moderator, distinguished panelists, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'll not make a presentation with slides, rather I would like to share some of our experiences through a statement. Since the Buenos Aires Plan of Action for promoting and implementing technical cooperation among developing countries, South-South cooperation has been steadily gaining importance as a growing dimension of international cooperation for development. Indeed, countries from the Global South are well positioned to understand each other's development realities. That means what works and what does not. And more importantly, the ways behind the successes and failures. Bangladesh has been benefited immensely from the exchange of experiences with peers facing similar challenges. South-South cooperation has played a key role in Bangladesh successfully fast-tracking its development rate and emerging as a development miracle. In the last 10 years, our country has established a new development paradigm through its strategy of domestic demand generation as it confronted the global financial crisis. Behind this strategy lies the goal of poverty eradication in one of the most populous, least developed countries of the world. Let me share our experiences of pursuing a successful development strategy of reducing poverty and how we blended experiences from both from South and North in our endeavor by leveraging the benefits of technology and innovation into development. Our GDP has been increased to $250 billion, which was only $8.7 billion in 1971, the year we got independence. Per capita GDP has increased to 1,751 USD in 2018. The country is all set to come out of LDC category if the current momentum continues. Poverty has declined to 24.3% from 31.5% in 2010. Over the same period, the incidence of extreme poverty declined to 12%. Main drivers of such impressive growth lie with our macroeconomic stability, improved agricultural productivity, job creation through expansion in manufacturing and the service sector, increased inward remittances, rapid employment generation, ensuring food security and increased household income that lead to reductions in poverty through inclusive growth. With our motto of Digital Bangladesh, the country heavily relied on its ICT infrastructure in providing public service by integrating technology in all development policies. With more than 150 million mobile phone users, 90 million internet users, and 99% geographical coverage in voice and data connectivity, registered mobile money accounts in Bangladesh are growing faster and contributing immensely towards financial inclusion. Bangladesh is implementing one of the biggest safety net programs in the world to create development and sustainable livelihood opportunities for the last mile beneficiaries with its own limited resources. Women, old age people, and physically challenged people are the major beneficiaries of the safety net programs. Efficiency of safety net programs has been increased significantly, and the pilferages has been contained to a great extent by adopting digital cash transfer system. The impact of this digitization process on human development is visible already. We have revolutionized public service delivery by giving access to public service information, reducing time required for service delivery drastically, better transparency and accountability in all spheres of the governance. Our credible success in MDG's implementation has earned international recognitions for this country. Based on the successes of our MDG implementation, most of the SDGs have now already been mainstreamed into our National Development Plan. Our goal is to cement our status as a strong upper middle income country by 2021 and realize cherished dream of our father of the nation, a golden Bangladesh, by 2041. UN Office for South-South Cooperation and the Government of Bangladesh have an evolving partnership in bringing out innovations in public service delivery to other countries. Establishment of a South-South network for public service innovations has already started disseminating experiences to other countries. Web-based SDG tracker has been launched that will allow countries to track the progress in all 17 goals in an integrated way, and this model is now being replicated in Peru under South-South Network for Public Service Innovation Program. In this context, the South-South Network for Public Service Innovation promises to be a timely platform, particularly in the area of public service innovation. Bangladesh is ready to lend its all-out support to strengthen this network. I would like to end by noting that the BAPA Plus 40 schedule for 2019 provides us an opportunity to enhance the current institutional arrangements to better support South-South cooperation. I also believe the Global South-South Development Expo will help us to see the success and challenges side by side, which will allow us to take firm action to remove the barriers, share each other's experience more, and make the South the hub for eradicating poverty and making the world a better place for the future generation. I thank you all.
Thank you very much for this very interesting and very important intervention. If I would like to ask you one question. What type of infrastructure or digital tech challenges or skill gaps did Bangladesh face at the beginning when implementing this program? Because this will be very relevant in the context of South-South cooperation and replicating.
First of all, the attitude of access to information, that was missing at the very beginning. And as you know, most of the public service is delivered through a government channel. At the beginning, there was no private sector, NGOs there. The delivery through them was not properly structured. So the first challenge was to, introduce talking to the people, having a continuous dialogue of setting the mindset of the people and the people working in the government, and bringing all the people on board. And the second challenge was this connectivity. I mean, way back in 2000, even in 10, 8, we hadn't that type of infrastructure that at the moment, as I have mentioned, the more than 90 million people are using internet. So that facility was not there. So we are thankful to our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who is championing in her visioning this future Bangladesh, and that's actually paved the way. I mean, having appropriate government policy and then setting up people dedicated, set up a dedicated unit in her office, at the Prime Minister's office in Bangladesh, A2I, actually pushed all the ministries, and through the ministries, all the our decentralized local government units actually helped us to go through and overcome these challenges. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like now to turn the floor to Ms. Ma Libo, Secretary General, JD Foundation in China, which will outline approaches on enhancing rural access to finance, green logistics, and using technology to leverage poverty reduction. I understood that you will also have a short video. Yes. Yes. Okay. You have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Dino, and distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm Libo Ma, and I'm responsible for JD's sustainability, as well as I'm also running for JD Foundations. It's JD.com's affiliate. It's my great honor to attend this expo and to share JD's experience in the context of South-South cooperation. Actually, I would like to take a very brief introduction of JD.com. And JD is the largest retail companies in China, both online and offline, by revenue. Actually, our revenue for last year is $55.7 billion US dollars. By the revenue, we are the third largest internet companies in the global after Amazon and Google. We have the ability to reach 1 billion customers through cooperation with Tencent. Actually, JD, we believe we provide our consumers with the enjoyable online retail experience through our website and our applications. We offer a wide selection of authentic product at competitive prices. All the products will be delivered in a speedy and reliable manner. In order to have a very fast logistics service and get more our customer satisfactions, we began to build up our in-house logistics infrastructure. Actually, JD, now we are the largest e-commerce logistics infrastructure in China. Our logistics can cover 99% of China's population, and almost 90% of our orders could be delivered within the same day or the next day. And in terms of the South-South cooperations, actually China is the largest developing countries, as well as the important participant in the cooperation. And JD, we have the commercial layout in the emerging market all over the world. As the business goes global, JD is sharing its value and sustainable development concept with some developing countries, and actively exploring the mode of South-South cooperation. So I just want to show a very brief video, and the highlight of the video is to show how our technology will help the people in need. And then we would like to have some discussion with you about the technical innovations could bring to SDG goals, and especially to no one left behind goals of the poverty alleviation. Thank you. Let's watch the video. Thank you so much. I think this is a very good example of how we use JD's advanced technology, use our drone to help the local people to get the medicine and the supplies in time. Actually, it always, usually need to take several hours to climb the mountains. By use JD's drones, we often take 4 minutes and to really give the medicine and the supplies to the local people. So I think this kind of the advanced technology could not only use in China, in rural areas, but also we can use in emerging market, I mean the other developing countries to solve the social issues. And another example is we also leverage the business advantage to help to do the disaster relief. In China, since 2008, JD we have completely done the disaster relief more than 20 times and donated nearly 4,000 tons of supplies. It transport more than 300 trucks. Because we have our nationwide logistics, so wherever or whenever the disaster happened in China, the manager of the nearest warehouse, he or she has a right to donate the supplies and to collect the supplies and then to use our own logistics to transport the supplies directly into the disaster-stricken areas. So JD is always one of the farthest companies who can really carry the supplies to help the victims. And we also duplicate this model in Thailand, in Indonesia. As you may know, in these Octobers, Indonesia and other places suffered from the earthquake and flood heavily. And our JD's Indonesia branch, we call JDID, they used the similar models and to collect the product in the same time, the first time, and then transport the supplies to the victims. At the same time, we also opened the platform in JDID's, the e-commerce platform. And when the consumers buy the product on JDID's website or the applications, they also can donate the monies and to buy some supplies. And JDID will also transport all the supplies directly and freely and very efficiently to the victim. So I think such of the social innovation model powered by our advanced technology could be a real blue sea for the South-South cooperation in the future. And second part, I would like to talk about directly regarding the poverty alleviation. You may know JD.com. We are the first e-commerce company to set up the special platform to sell the products from the rural areas in China. More than 3 million products sourced from the rural areas are available online through our e-commerce platform and our logistics. We can help the local farmer to really sell their domestic product to the big cities. And we can benefit all the poor counties of China now. For examples, we have a very interesting programs. We call this the running chicken. Actually, it's the free-range chicken. In these initiatives, JD provide poor farmers the support of the interest-free loans, and with the authorized the third parties also give them some trainings how to feed the chickens. Why we call them the running chickens? Because each chicken wear a device, and the device like the Fitbit, and we can calculate how many steps they run each day. And the chicken was bred in this very organic way, because there are also in that poor county, there are some of the mountains is very suitable for chicken to grow up. So the free-range chicken bred on the farm are sold exclusively on JD.com's platform by using our in-house logistics service for fast and reliable delivery. To sell one chicken, and the local farmer can get the profit. And actually, we are happy to see, since it's launched, many families, they joined these programs, and actually each of the family, they got the profit 1 month is equal to their annual income in previous. So this is quite outstanding income. And then, based on the South cooperations, we duplicate our experience into another developing countries. You may know, like in Thailand, the durian fruit is a quite popular and best-selling commodities in JD Thailand online store. But the vicious price competition harmed the local farmers' benefit. We setting up a durian brand with the local partners. In this way, we can ensure high-quality product, but also increase the purchase price, protect the Thai farmers' benefit. We believe within 3 or 5 years, JD will purchase more than $3 billion from Thailand, including the fruits, seafood, and other products. We are committed to help the local small and medium enterprise and farmers to build the local brands and really increase their income. Actually, there are small initiatives we really want to share. And at the same time, we really very appreciate that UNDP give us this cherishable platform we can share and we can learn from each others. And also, we have some strategic partnership with UNDP China as well as the WWF Worldwide Fund for Nature. And we hope in the futures we can work closely and we can really devote, contribute more in our South-South cooperations, and we need to strive together to reach our SDG goals. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have to confess I learned a lot during your presentation. I know that JD is working with UNDP China on supporting the implementation of the SDGs and especially on environmental protection and green development. We heard about your stories in working in Thailand, for example, in other developing countries. But I would like to know, and I think will be very useful for all of us, do you have or do you plan to have a strategy to expand the work on SDG implementation through South-South cooperation? So I understand that you have this work in these countries, but do you plan to have a strategy to guide your South-South cooperation work for advancing the Sustainable Development Agenda? Thank you.
Thank you. In China, actually, we have a strategic partnership with UNDP China and WWF. What we did is we really want to promote the sustainable consumption. I think it's one of the very important SDGs. Because we can reach the 1 billion customers and we have so many suppliers. So we would like to work with them and within this ecosystem to promote the sustainable consumption together. For example, like the Earth Day, we work with our customers and we build up the green platform and to encourage our customers to donate their second-hand clothes, their toys, their books, and then collect them together and then to donate some of them directly to the peoples in the remote site. Other part will go to the recycle factories. Let me provide the numbers. Within 1 week, we can collect, and this platform is based on the technology. It's very simple, and as a customers, you can set up the order, green orders, and our carrier will pick up the clothes, second-hand clothes, and other stuffs at your door. So within 1 week, in 50 cities in China, we can collect more than 100,000 second-hand the clothes. So as total for so many times activities, we have already collected 2 million second-hand products. And so I think this is a very small initiative. This is the initiative is how we really want to promote sustainable consumptions. When you buy something, at the same time, you may consider the environment protection. Basing on the context of the South-South cooperations, I think now some social challenge may be similar in China, may be similar as some social issues at the developing countries. So we would like to work with the international organizations and to find out the similar social issues and duplicate this kind of the solutions by leveraging JD's business advantage and to promote the sustainable consumption together based on the South-South cooperation. And I think in the future, this could be the very sustainable ways the SDGs and the South-South the cooperations could be really embedded in people's daily life. Thank you.
Thank you. So unfortunately, we have been informed that our guest, the CEO of Rwanda Cooperation Initiative, whose plane arrived late, is stuck in traffic. So unfortunately, I don't think he's going to make it. So we will open the floor for your questions and comments to our distinguished panelists. And I would like, with your permission, to first give the floor to Ghana. To Stephen Kansuk from UNDP Ghana. And you're there? Okay. Thank you.
Very much. My name is Stephen Kansuk from UNDP Ghana. First of all, I would like to apologize on behalf of the government of Ghana that they were not able to make it here, basically because of some administrative and logistical constraints. And I'm sure they would have been much happier to present at this forum. And having listened to this very inspirational presentation from our panelists, I think it is appropriate to also make a comment on the kind of experience that we've had with the government of China with respect to issues about transfer of renewable energy technology in Ghana. I mean, the cooperation, the South-South cooperation, looked at 3 distinct areas. First of all, looking at how to create the enabling environment to promote, first of all, the transfer of technology and also for the production and the use of renewable energy technology in Ghana. As a result of this cooperation, the government of Ghana was able to develop, utilizing Chinese expertise, to develop the renewable energy master plan that sought to set clear targets on how government of Ghana intends to make use of its renewable energy resources. I think it is also important to indicate that it was just not the wholesale transfer of technology, but also looking at the technology, the technical competence, technical capacity building issues related to that. So a number of government partners were trained and their capacity were built with respect to renewable energy technology in the country. So it also looked at trying to increase the use of renewable energy technology in the country. So there were a number of other demonstrations, renewable energy demonstration sites. For instance, the demonstration sites on mini hydro. And in all this, there were a number of much-to-much major events that the cooperation, the South-South cooperation, organized with respect to some private companies in Ghana and some other private companies also in China to see how they can collaborate on some opportunities in delivering or achieving the SDGs with respect to renewable energy access and with the spirit of not leaving no one behind. As a result of this cooperation, I'm happy to indicate that some initial discussions have taken place between 2 private sector companies in Ghana and 2 private sector companies in China to develop a solar manufacturing company in Ghana. So it is not just about transferring a wholesale technology to Ghana, but to encourage the establishment of renewable energy manufacturing industry in Ghana. And of course, this addresses so many aspects, several aspects of the SDGs with respect to creating decent jobs, increasing the access to renewable energy, and a number of things. But it is important to also note that in doing so, there were some other local considerations that the corporation took into consideration. There are a number of other staple food that Ghanaians usually will not want to adopt some other technology because of the kind of their local conditions. But we in contextualizing the situation, some experience from China, we were able to ensure that the concerns of the government and the people of Ghana were taken into consideration in developing the whole approach. I think, and one of the lessons that I think we learned from that was the whole issue of government commitment. There was a strong level government commitment, and that actually led to this initiative. So in ensuring South-South cooperation, there is a need for us to ensure government ownership in that we do. I think this is briefly what I can say about the kind of cooperation that we had with respect to South-South cooperation between China and Ghana. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stephen. The floor is open for your questions and comments. Please.
Giving me the floor. My question is for the two distinguished speakers from China.
May I kindly ask you first to introduce yourself?
I'm Ambassador Hani Salim. I'm Assistant Minister of Foreign Affairs of Egypt for International Cooperation for Development. My question is directed to the two distinguished speakers from China, where I was honored to serve as Deputy Ambassador from 2006 to 2010. Early this year in Guangzhou, in China, a partnership was launched between the BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, and the UNDP, focusing on enhancing the role of private sector, especially by private financing, but also NGOs and civil society, in the achievement of SDGs and within a framework of South-South cooperation. So my question is there any tendency that all these fragments of excellent initiatives by different foundations and entities in China, is there a tendency to incorporate them and channel them in just one framework, and that is the partnership between the BRI and the UNDP? I suppose that if we succeed to do something like that, this would help to mainstream the contribution of your excellent foundations and your excellent the outcome and the end product of your activities, to mainstream it and to avoid any duplication, any repetition of activity. I think that would be a good idea in order to enhance the role of your foundations in South-South cooperation and the achievement of SDGs. So if you can enlighten me about any information whether this initiative is going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to take two more questions, and then I will invite the panel. So we have a question here.
For that opportunity. My name is Julius Moya. I'm the Principal Secretary for Planning, and that's the focal point for South-to-South cooperation. So I appreciate the presentation that have been made, and I want to direct my question to the presenter from Alibaba Group in China, and to ask the question, that model that Alibaba have created an industry for poverty relief in the desert, has it been adopted by other reasonably big or even small Chinese companies? And then secondly, if we were to grow this to scale, what would be the model that would follow? Is it a government policy in that respect, or is it the private sector through either UNDP support or through the business member organizations to come up with a framework that grows it up to scale? Thank you.
Excellent questions. Thank you. There was someone in... Yes. Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Anir Chaudhary. I'm from the Access to Information program in Bangladesh.
that Mr. Achim Steiner this morning mentioned. I just want to mention two things here. Even without formal collaboration with Alibaba, Bangladesh has adopted a model called One Shop. It's a model of e-commerce that we are now promoting in about 2,000 locations of the country, which are delivering public and private services, have been delivering public and private services for the last 10 years. Now, starting the beginning of this year, they've added e-commerce services, and it's spread like wildfire to about 2,000 locations already. So the question I have to UNDP perhaps is to whether this collaboration can be more formalized. We went and saw the Taobao village model on our own and learned some possibly nuggets of wisdom from the model that existed in China, and then we implemented parts of it in Bangladesh. But maybe a formal collaboration may even make it more effective. So that's one question. The other is, with the support from the Bangladesh government, there is a South-South network for public service innovation that is hosted in the Bangkok office of UN Office for South-South Cooperation. Perhaps that office could collaborate more effectively with UNDP. What Mr. Steiner talked about this morning, a few hundred South-South cooperations across 100+ countries. Perhaps this network, which is focusing primarily on public service innovation, could work closely with UNDP to promote these and also learn from that cooperation possibilities across the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think I'll take one more question, and then I will invite the panel. And then we'll do the second round.
Thank you. My name is Boris Gilka. I'm representing Moldova, Secretary General and Minister of Health and Social Protection. First of all, thank you very much for excellent presentation and experience shared by all distinguished speakers. Congratulations to Turkmenistan and appreciation to China for such models. In the context of accelerating rural development and innovative practice, there are any linked to aging population in the rural community and any policy for that? Thank you very much in advance.
Thank you. I would like now to turn the floor to our distinguished panelists and to answer the questions or provide feedback. So there was a specific question addressed to Alibaba.
谢谢啊。我刚才听了几个问题啊，跟我们阿里巴巴有关的，我这里一起回答一下。的发展和
Whether there are other companies duplicate Alibaba for its poverty relief models. To tell you the truth, there are many companies in China are doing that, especially the new startup companies and the internet companies. Recently, a lot of companies are doing this to explore opportunities to help the people. Alibaba is the same. It's trying to explore new methods, a new way to help the people in need. And we have achieved some results. Secondly, the companies in China who use the digital technologies helps the poor in rural area. A model, the question is whether we can duplicate this model in the rest of the world. I think, as I have answered a question before, you need three elements to make it successful. Number one, you need a government total support, including funding and the policy, which is critical to make this model successful. The second factor, if you want to duplicate this model to other countries, it will depend on a nation's infrastructures, including the internet infrastructures in the nation and electronic government systems and financial systems. This would be a government's business. And of course, this needs to participation of private companies to help to build the infrastructures in a nation. Number three, as I have said, it is most important to duplicate this model to another country. Will be to raise the awareness of the people in a country so that you can harvest the talents of the people. Because we needed to narrow the talent gaps. A few years ago, especially in the last 2 years, we have working with several developing countries in South Asia and Africa. Nations. Our chairman, Jack Ma, has been focused in many African countries' developments. In the past 2 years, we work closely with young African entrepreneurs. So those three factors I listed are most important. I also emphasize the cooperation. For instance, the cooperation with UNDP, NGO, to have all parties, interested parties to participate in the program is also a key. Alibaba hopes very much to totally to exploit this opportunity offered by this meeting. We open our arms, we invite the interested parties, whether you are a government or private companies, to join us, to come to China, to understand our model with your eyes so that we can work together to explore better opportunities, better projects to cooperations between you and us. Alibaba wants very much to contribute its abilities to achieve the agenda of the South cooperation. Thank you. 谢谢.
Would you like to add or respond to the, no, was not specifically related to Turkmenistan. So for JD, would you like to add anything related to formalizing the partnership of having a more comprehensive framework within the partnership that you have with UNDP was a question from Egypt. But if not, I can turn the floor to someone from UNDP China, who I spotted there, and maybe he will answer that question if it's more specific to UNDP. Yeah. So, over to you. I think you are the only person to answer that question.
Unfortunately,
I think there were 3 questions, and they were very important.
So I think specifically we can't go into details on the partnership arrangements, but I think as UNDP in China, we are partnering with a range of institutions from government to esteemed speakers on the panel now, and there's definitely an interest from both sides, also from government of China, in leveraging some of the experiences China has, also developed through its private sector for the benefit of the world, whether it's done in relation to China-originated Belt and Road Initiative or more generally South-South cooperation. That's not the specific point, but more to share the experiences from Chinese enterprises, government, and civil society. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And in response to the question from Bangladesh, I think you are totally right. We need to look at formalizing the models for partnership. So that could be, as part of the network, more available and easily available in terms of lessons learned and processes to make it easier to be scaled up and replicated. We have 5 more minutes, and I have 2 questions here. Yes, gentleman in the second row, and then gentleman in the first row, please.
Thank you very much. My name is George Chirima. I come from South Africa. My question is on the JDS, on the drones. I thank you very much for a mind-blowing and critical intervention in terms of technology. I think it holds good scope for future. I would like the colleague to share with us, maybe me in particular, what is the link between the pharmacists and the patients? I'm assuming there should be that feedback on the delivery of medicines using the drones. The second part of the question is, who shoulders the funding? Coming from where I come from, the rural people are not in a position to maybe to sustain it over a long time. So how do you see the funding of this model going ahead? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you. My name is Ambassador Ansari. I'm the Director of International Cooperation in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Qatar. Just wanted to thank you and also salute the great initiatives made by our Chinese colleagues. And China is an important pillar and the backbone for the South-South cooperation and the South agenda, which is a huge agenda since the establishment of the G77 in China in the 60s. And in this occasion, and because of the important role of China in pushing forward the agenda of the South, I would like to see comments from the colleagues on the linkage between the poverty eradication and using the technologies for poverty eradication and achieving SDGs. How can we link this with Chinese initiative of One Belt, One Road, which is really getting galvanized and becoming also a global initiative, and really it's supported by my government, and we thank them for this initiative as well. And then I want to also invite them to comment, or maybe the other colleagues or other policymakers can comment on the upcoming conference of South-South cooperation in Buenos Aires after 10 years of 2009 conference in Nairobi, where also the South countries worked very, in a very long process with partners and colleagues from the North to adopt the Declaration of Nairobi, which is a UN declaration. So how do they think we can make the Buenos Aires conference success, and what kind of outcomes they expect? And how can the South countries coordinate to make this conference in Buenos Aires successful? And the same thing goes to the Uganda conference, the third summit, the third South summit that will be hosted by Uganda, which also came after a long time, a long wait, after Doha second South summit in 2004, and before that, the first summit in Havana. I thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we have 2 minutes left, so I would like to give the floor first to you and to respond to the questions.
You may notice I am not a native English speaker, so I'm more suitable. I would like to answer this in Chinese. Yeah, very briefly.
我会讲得很快。I think your question is wonderful. because this question is involved what we the actual measures we have done to relieve poverty. For instance, one of the example, when we help the villagers who needs the medical help, we actually made a survey. We understood what they need, what amount of medications, what kind of medication they need before we deploy this project. So it was not that we imposed what we think of what they needed. We actually to explore to find out what the villagers really needed. So this goes back to the cooperation in the South-South project, because we want to respect the nation's sovereignty. We wanted to provide help a nation really needs. In terms of how to measure the poverty relief, I think poverty relief is a very important policy of the Chinese government. Therefore, in China, we actually have a special program for a farmer. That means that if your income is below certain level, you will be considered as low-income people. And so when we try to help people, we target those low-income people.
So once their income is higher than the average level, that means they have achieved success in poverty alleviation. I think that's one of the standards we could apply. Thank you.
The question from the ambassador from Qatar. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Ambassador. Both initiatives in Turkmenistan are directly linked to poverty alleviation. First one is employment for people with disabilities, and second one is digitalization, digital economy, which will have a direct impact on, the economy, more efficient. Also, provision of social services will be digitalized, which means more access to social assistance. In Turkmenistan, we are not necessarily talking about BRI. We are talking about South-South cooperation. That's the framework, which also, because we are guided by the government of Turkmenistan and what the government of Turkmenistan would like to see as technical cooperation with China. So that's why for us the emphasis is really on the South-South cooperation and using the technologies, using the know-how of China, bringing the private sector on board. That will be extremely important. And talking about the success of the upcoming conferences, to me personally, if you manage to bring the private sector on board, that will be already contributing to the success of the whole concept of South-South, because it needs to be, as I mentioned in the beginning, inclusive and collective. So all the stakeholders should be on board in order to make it really happen.
Thank you very much. I do not intend to wrap up this very interesting, fascinating conversation. We've learned a lot, but I would think that the thread that I listened to was the thread of leaving no one behind. The thread of, and we heard the stories on accessing rural communities, marginalized groups, persons with disabilities, and doing that in a way that it's using technology, it's leapfrogging through new technology, through innovation. We heard that this is we have to leave behind the cookie-cutter approaches and move towards more tailor-made solutions, very attuned and adapted to national contexts, sub-regional, sub-national contexts, and we can't do this alone. It's a need for collective action. Government has a role, civil society has a role, private sector has a role, and of course all the communities have a role. So it's the collective approach. And It is about the culture, and it's about changing that culture and changing the attitude. If we really are to advance the Sustainable Development Agenda and leave no one behind. So thank you very much. One more round of applause for our distinguished panelists. Thank you.